All right, welcome back. We are on the series of carrying your cross, and today I'm going to do at least three more videos in this series. And the topic today is poverty and helping the poor, so charity. And so I'm going to read a lot of Bible verses about that. But first, I just want to say that that's another big part of what's going on out there, all the heresies that are going around out there about the topic of poverty. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on in this area of poverty. I mean, there are even wolves that will go so far as to say that it's a sin to be poor, or that it's somehow your fault, or it's because of sin, or a lack of faith. All that prosperity gospel kind of heresy that's been going on for decades, really, but it just seems to be getting worse. So today I'm just going to refute all of that and do away with all that. I mean, first of all, it's not a sin to be poor, if anything. And it's not because of anything that you've done wrong. I mean, there are all kinds of situations, but I mean, you can't assume that's why somebody's poor. You know, there are people who make mistakes. Maybe they gamble their money away and they're poor or something like that. They have an addiction of some kind. Well, yeah, okay, then that would be their fault. Something like that, but not, you can't assume if you don't know. And not just, the average person walking down the road who's poor. You can't just say, oh, that's automatically their fault and you automatically know. No, I mean, there are plenty of people out there who are poor and it's not their fault. They did nothing wrong, and it's not a sin. It's not because of a sin, and it's not because of a lack of faith or any of that other prosperity gospel heresy. And on top of that, it's even said that many times in life we will be poor. And it's even something that's better than the alternative. And Jesus even said, blessed are the poor. And there are many Bible verses about that. And it's kind of part of the thing that goes along with video number 1 in this series that I am talking about. But at the same time, I mean, God doesn't just abandon us. We are provided for. And I'm a perfect case in point. I mean, I have been technically poor most of my life. There are exceptions, when I made more money at certain times. But most of my life, it hasn't been the case. I grew up poor, was poor most of my life, and at the same time I've been so blessed. I mean, I've been able to travel the world at the same time. It just by blessings that came through a back door. And I've never had a problem in any way. Like, I've been taken care of. Let's just say I'm provided for. um, I have food on the table, I have a roof over my head, I have a bed, I have clothes, like I'm good. So, but that's kind of how it is, when we're supposed to be content with that. And whatever we have, we can't take it with us when we die. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention all of that, and that's what's going to come up when we look at these Bible verses. So, it's kind of a combination of um, poverty, being poor, and at the same time helping the poor. If people in the church have money, they should help those in the church who are poor. That's what the Bible teaches. And if possible, even charity for outside if there's more left over. So, if we are instructed to help the poor, that alone demonstrates that, there's nothing wrong with being poor if we're instructed to help the poor. That implies that it's not their fault. generally speaking, and they are victims of circumstances and things like that, and we're instructed to help them. That already implies that it's not their fault, it's not because of a sin, and not only that, but we should help them, have mercy on them on top of it all. So that goes hand in hand. If it was otherwise, why would God tell people to help them, right? So it's not, it doesn't say, oh, it's because you have a lack of faith, or you're in some sin, or it doesn't say that. It says help the poor. So okay, and that's Old and New Testament, so I have verses from both, and I will jump in a list. Maybe it's about maybe 10 different verses. I have a longer list. Oh, wait, let me get that. I'm gonna get that. I have a notebook full of verses, but I'm not going to read them all, but I want to show them so they show up for anybody who wants to look them up. But first I'll go over these. So the first one is Deuteronomy 15. And it's this right here, verses 7 through 14. All right, this was, back when they were in the land of Israel. So some of these, there are instructions in here that are just for that, okay? But this is one of the principles that extends. So, all right, 7. If there is among you a poor man of your brethren within any of the gates in your land, which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother, but you shall open your hand wide to him and willingly lend him sufficient for his need, whatever he needs. Beware lest there be a wicked thought in your heart, saying, and this was about they had Jubilee years and things. The 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and your eye be evil against your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he cry out to the Lord against you, and it becomes sin among you. So not helping them is a sin, see? Okay. You shall surely give to him, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him. This is the cheerful giver, see? When you give to him, because for this thing the Lord your God will bless you in all your works, and in all and in all to which you put your hand. Okay, and this is true. This is so true. All right. So, for the poor will never cease from the land. Therefore, I command you, saying, you shall open your hand wide to your brother, to your poor and your needy in your land. Okay, so there's that. That says it. I mean, there it is. And then we have 24. (17 to 22). Okay. You shall not pervert justice to the stranger or the fatherless, so that's orphans, nor take a widow's garment as a pledge. That's the kind of thing they had going on. It's a long story. I'll explain later when we're here again. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. Therefore I command you to do this thing. Our equivalent of this is we're saved. Okay, we're supposed to want to help people now. Okay, 19. When you reap your harvest in your field and forget a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. So there's that principle, see? All right, when you help, it's like he blesses your work, okay? When you help people. And I can verify that, okay? I could tell stories here, but I want to make these videos shorter, okay? All right, 20. When you beat your olive trees, you shall not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. So that's like the equivalent of the homeless, the orphan, the widow. Today, we don't have the widow's problem, but there are other problems. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command you to do this thing. He helps us. He expects us to help others too. And when I showed a list, there are other verses, and in there you'll see, if you look at them, it mentions this whole, including like a tithing. Well, the tithing is talking about this. It was being given to them. And it mentioned the Levite because the Levite didn't have any land. He was up to the mercy of the food that was given. Okay, it was just the food. It was not money, of course. It was just food and that kind of thing. So that's why it was put like that. It was not, because they didn't have anything. They had nothing to live on. So they only had food. They were giving them food. They weren't giving them money. So, okay, so that's the deal when you read that. So it's mentioning Levites in that way. It's not the way they twist this whole tithe principle now. Okay, so now next one is Isaiah. Isaiah 3. Okay, yeah, 3:14 to 15. Here, let me put it there. All right, I'm not reading the whole thing, just select spots, okay? The Lord will enter into judgment with the elders of his people and his princes, for you have eaten up the vineyard. The plunder of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor, says the Lord God of hosts. Okay, so you can kind of get a feeling for how God feels about this. All right, and then we have Isaiah 58. Six to 9. All right, is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and not hide yourself from your own flesh. Then your light shall break forth like the morning. Your healing shall spring forth speedily. And your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, Here I am. So, and then it goes on with the same idea, but that focused a lot on this concept. So anyway, so many people, they just think, okay, said the sinner's prayer, now I'm good. They don't read, they don't know that, there are things we should be doing, and then their prayers don't get answered, and they wonder why. The work of their hands isn't blessed, and they wonder why. Or their healing doesn't spring forth speedily, and they wonder why. I mean, it could be anything, but these are just some of the things that are mentioned. So, okay, Jeremiah 22. (15 to 16). Shall you reign? And here, this is Jeremiah. He's rebuking one of the kings in Israel, Judah or Israel. I forgot which one, but okay, he's rebuking one of them. Shall you reign because you enclose yourself in cedar? Did not your father eat and drink and do justice and righteousness? Then it was well with him. He judged the cause of the poor and needy. Then it was well. Was not this knowing me, says the Lord? And here it is, was not this knowing me, says the Lord. What is knowing God if we have no mercy for those in trouble? They claim to know God, but they don't, because they don't help people at all, like nothing, okay? And I see that all the time. All right, Ezekiel. (16). (49). So the next page. Okay, 49. And 50. Okay, look. This was the iniquity of your sister Sodom, like Sodom and Gomorrah. She and her daughter had pride, fullness of food, and abundance of idleness. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw fit. Okay, so that was one of their sins. All right, now we have Psalm 82. And it's 3 to 4. And that's right here. Okay. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Free them from the hand of the wicked. Okay, and then 112. Verse 9. Okay. He has dispersed abroad He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn will be exalted with honor. Okay, so that's the one who does the right thing. All right, and now we have Job. Wait, Job. This way. Okay, 29. Job 29, 12 to 17. So this is Job talking, and when he's being accused by his friends, like, this happened to you because, I might as well stop and talk about that. Like Job, I mentioned in one of the other videos, he was upright, and he had a lot of kids, and he had a lot of wealth, and he was one of the people that lived like really early after Adam. I think after the flood, yeah, but he's mentioned in there somewhere, like on a lineage thing. But anyway, it was a long, long, long time ago, and he helped the poor with his wealth. He didn't do anything wrong, but that's the one where the devil went up to God and asked, or said, accused basically, like, oh, the only reason he serves you is because you bless him. So they had that little thing where, okay, well, then if that goes away, we'll see what happens. And that's what happened. His everything got taken away basically, and he also got sick. So, and his friends came, just like these prosperity gospel heretics would today, and accused him. Well, it must be your fault somehow. You must have done something wrong. There must be some hidden sin, and that's what's causing all this. It has to be, all this. And they were wrong. And it goes around and around, and he's always making his case like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I did all this stuff right, and it happened anyway. And he does that, like, why did God let this happen to me kind of thing. And in the end, it all gets restored. So, okay, but that's all it was about. And the whole thing in this is he ends up being a type of Christ, because Christ was the same. I mean, this man, Job, wasn't perfect, but he was pretty good. Jesus was perfect, but I mean, he was perfectly innocent, and he suffered. So Job is like a type of Christ in that way. So that's what ends up happening here. And he passed his test. He was loyal, so that's why he's a type as well. But anyway, here he's just explaining his case, like he's saying what he's doing. So what he's doing right. Okay, so verse 12, because I delivered the poor who cried out, the fatherless, and the one who had no helper. The blessing of a perishing man came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind, and I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and I searched out the case that I did not know. I broke the fangs of the wicked and plucked the victim from his teeth. So you get the idea. I mean, that's beautiful, and that was Job. Okay, so he did the right things. He had a lot of wealth, and he did the right thing with it. He still had plenty, but he helped people all over the place. So he had a reputation for this. Okay, so that's that. And then there's another one over here, 31. (16 to 22). Okay. And he's defending himself here too. If I have kept the poor from their desire, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or eaten my morsel by myself, so that the fatherless could not eat of it. But from my but from my youth I reared him as a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, or any poor man without covering, if his heart has not blessed me, and if he was not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the fatherless, when I saw I had help in the gate, like bullying, okay, help in the gate. 22. Then let my arm fall from my shoulder. Let my arm be torn from the socket. And then, like his justice would be just in that case if he had done any of that, but he hasn't, is what he's saying. Like he was helping them all. Okay, and now we have Luke. Luke 14. 12 to 14. Then, so this is Jesus, he also said to him who invited him, when you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just. And don't we see that all the time? People are always calculating, oh, I better not give them something because they can't give back to me in return. They're like, oh, if I invite them, they can't invite me back, so forget it. I'm only going to invite rich friends to my party, or that kind of thing. It's always that kind of calculation. Okay, this is how the world thinks. It's this kind of calculation. It's that cost benefit equation. Okay, I better not do any more because I won't get it back. It's extra and then it's lost. That's the way their mind works. That's their accounting that goes on in their mind. They wouldn't think of giving to the poor because they know, oh, well, I won't get anything back. That's how they think. So it's totally contrary to what Jesus taught. Most won't want to admit that, though. Okay, Romans 12, verse 13. Okay, it's a lot of stuff. I'm just going to read 13. Distributing to the needs of the saints, given to hospitality. So, we're supposed to be helping the other Christians who need help, who are poor, if we can. So, there's that. There's a lot. I'll get out the list in a minute here. 1 John. Three, verse 17. Okay. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need, he's talking about Christians here in this case, and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him? Okay, and don't love in word only, but in deed. That's where that comes in. The deed has to follow your word and your belief. So, okay, so there's that. And I mean, there's so many. I'm going to pull out my list so you can see the list. Obviously, I don't want to read every one. It would be way too long. Okay, so let me zoom this out. Here, okay, and I'm sure there are more. Okay, this is a collection as I was reading along. I just added, have all these, and we've covered many in the New Testament as well. So as I was reading through the epistles, here's more sharing, among the church. There's a list, and there are more, but we covered a lot through the reading that I talked about in the videos. So, but here, we actually did all these. So, I mean, I thought, why go over it again? But here's the list. That just makes the point. And here's a lot of New Testament and Old Testament also. So I'll leave it like this and move it a little bit. And you can pause and write down anything you want and research that if you want. So that is the topic of poverty and charity and that whole issue. So, okay, that's this video. It's about half an hour, so that's not too bad. I'll be right back and I'll do the next one, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute.